Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Wednesday. Today is April 15th, day 18 of NTI. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember that each time I start a new video. Today we're moving on to Module 6, Lesson 7, and we do have a new concept to learn today, so this is our learning page. If you want to write down, Lesson 7, learn, we're going to be talking about patterns and rules today and how those can apply to the coordinate system. So what we have box A here, and what's happening inside this box is, let me just ask if you notice, what do you notice is happening between the X coordinate and the Y coordinate? Look at this X and this Y. Look at this X and this Y and this X and this Y. So what do you notice about the coordinates for these points in Table A? Well, you might say, well, Miss Grigsby, the X and Y coordinate are the same. And that is correct. So that could be an actual rule for this table. If I were to plot these points, A, B, C, and D, on this grid, on this coordinate grid, I'm going to show you, they would construct a line, okay? Not necessarily horizontal or necessarily vertical, but they would construct a line. I'm going to show you here in a second. But the rule or the pattern for box A could be that the X and Y coordinates are the same. And if we wanted to put another point on this line, whenever I plot these points and put them and draw a line through the points, if we wanted to put any other point on that line, what would it have to have? What would the coordinates of point E have to have? Yes, the X and Y coordinate would have to be the same, okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you that one really quick. So I'm going to plot point A at 0, 0. So you might be like, oh, duh, Miss Grigsby, we know where that is. And you are correct. There's point A. We're going to plot point B at 1, 1. So remember, start at the origin. Remember, this is our x-axis. This is our y-axis. We're going to plot at 1, 1. And you might already start to notice, if I could draw a line through these, all right, we have 2, 2 for point C. So start at the origin, travel on the X, up to the 2 on the Y. Oh, I forgot to label, didn't I? B, C, and then we have point D. So we even have, so we're going to go start the origin, 3, 3. So X coordinate of 3, Y coordinate of 3. Okay? And so what's going to happen is I'm going to be able to construct a line. I'm going to turn my paper a little bit here. And I'm going to be able to construct a line that goes through those points. Okay? And this line follows this rule. This rule follows the pattern that the X and Y coordinate are the same. If I write any other points, if I want them to fall on this line, the X and Y coordinate have to be the same. So if I put 5, 5, my line would continue and go through that point right there. I could even do, guys, look at this. I could even do half, half. I could even do 1.5, 1.5. I could do 2.5, 2.5. So if I were to tell you to put, so I could say, oh, I'm going to do point E, and I think 10 will fall on that line. You are correct. You don't even have to prove it. You don't even have to prove it, guys. If the X and Y coordinate are the same, your point E, would fall on that line. Pretty cool, isn't it? All right, now, that one was pretty easy. Let's look at something a little bit more challenging. So, we've got to ask ourselves, what's going on here from the X coordinate to the Y coordinate? How are they getting, now they're going to be doing the same thing. Now you might have learned this in the past, like younger grades, patterns, rules, the in and out table. You may have heard that, and this is exactly like that. How do we get from 0 to 3? Think about that. Remember, we could add something, we could subtract, we could multiply, we could divide. So how are we getting from half to 3.5? How do we get from 1 to 4? 1.5 to 4.5. And we have to do the same thing all the way down. Can anybody figure it out? Some of you might have already gotten it. It is add 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. Half plus 3 is 3.5. 1 plus 3 equals 4. And 1.5 plus 3 equals 4.5. So the rule for table B is add 3. So I'm going to plot these points for you and show you the line that it creates, okay? So we have point G. I'm going to plot it at 0, 3. So start the origin. My x coordinate is 0, which means I'm not traveling. And my y coordinate is 3, which means I'm going up here to 3. And I'm going to put point G there. My next coordinate is half, 3.5. Plotting point H. So I'm going to go to half, because these are the grid lines are counting by halves. Okay, so we have half on the x and 3.5 on the y. So we're going to go up to 3.5. And there will be 3.5 right there. So that's point H. And then we have I is 1, 4. So I'm going to plot I at, start the origin, x coordinate of 1 up to a y coordinate of 4. And what are you starting to notice? Do you see how I can connect these to construct a line going through these points? J is 1.5, 4.5. So start at the x, the origin, travel on the x axis to 1.5, all the way up to 4.5. Okay? And that's going to be J. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn my page a little bit just so that I can connect those points. Okay? So as you can see, now the best part about this is, let's say you were asked to write another point. So let's say they asked you point K, and they want you to write coordinates for point K that would fall on this line. Boys and girls, it has to follow the rule +3. So whatever your x coordinate is, you can even put 5, guys. You can even start with 5. What is 5 plus 3? It is 8. So if this grid were to continue, and I went over to the 5, all the way up to the 8, let's say the grid kept going, it would fall on that line, okay? Let's say I did another one that you could actually see on the line. Remember, if you have to find a coordinate that would fall on that line, it has to follow the rule. So let's say I did point L, now I went from 1.5 to 5, but I'm just going to do 2. Let's say I did 2, and I have to follow the rule +3. What is 2 plus 3? Yes, it is 5. So if it follows that rule, 2 plus 3 is 5. If it follows that rule, it will fall on this line. So I'm going to start the this origin over to the x coordinate to 2, up to the y coordinate of 5, and boom, look what I got. There it is. So as long as your coordinate follows this rule, it will fall on that line. Same thing here. As long as your x and y coordinate are the same, you could write any point you wanted to and create coordinates for it as long as your x and y are the same. Okay? And that's really the whole lesson of today. So now let's look at the problem set. We're going to go back to lesson 7 problem set. And those of you who have your notebook, you can just work with me. And those of you who actually, those of you in Google Classroom, you're just following along with me. And those of you who do not have Google Classroom, you can actually do this on the pages itself, okay? So we're going to work through this. So it says, complete the chart, then plot the points on the coordinate plane. So they want us to complete the chart. So they just want us to write those coordinates out. Remember, you guys can pause the video at any time if you needed to write any notes down. And then we're going to plot the points on the coordinate plane. So we have 0, 1. So here's our x, here's our y, starting at the origin, an x coordinate of 0, so I'm not moving, and then I'm going up to the 1, so they are counting by 1s there. So I'm going to plot point, my first point there, it has no label on it. And then we have 2, 3, so start the origin, x coordinate of 2 up to 3. Okay. Then we have 4, 5. All right. So start the origin, x coordinate of 4 up to 5. Right there. What do you notice? See how those are following? It looks like they're following a nice, neat pattern. 6, 7. So we'll start the origin, x coordinate of 6 up to 7. 6 up to 7. And now it says use a straight edge to draw a line connecting those. I'm not going to use a straight edge. I can just kind of turn my paper there and kind of try my best. Okay. And now it says write a rule showing the relationship between the x and y coordinates. What is the rule? How do you get from 0 to 1? How do you get from 2 to 3, 4 to 5, 6 to 7? Remember, you can add, subtract, multiply, divide. Who thinks they know? Yes, you are correct, guys. It is plus 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. 4 plus 1 is 5. And 6 plus 1 is 7. Really cool, huh? And remember, this says name 2 other points that are on this line. What do our coordinates have to do? They have to add 1. So I want you to pause the video and see if you can answer. I want you to tell me 2 more points that would fall on this line. Okay? What do they have to do from the x to the y? Add 1. That's it. So if you start at 7, what's your y coordinate going to be? Yes, 8. So I'm going to put 7, 8. I want you to try and come up with one more. Pause the video and see if you can do it. All right, let's see if you got it. So you could write anything. You could write 10, 11. You could write 100, 101. I mean, any of those points would fall on this line because they follow the rule add 1, okay? Some people could even, you could even plot a point there and see how this would be over to the 1 up to, so x coordinate of 1. So inside there would be 1, 2. So 1, 2 would work, okay? Good job. All right, we're going to look at the bottom. We're almost done for today. It says complete the chart, then plot the points on the coordinate plane. So we're going to do the same as the above. If you have this at home, I want you to pause and try to work this out on your own. Those of you who have Google Classroom, if you want to draw this and pause and try to plot these points and see if you can answer these 3 questions, I want you to pause the video right now. Try to do it on the problem set or in your notebook by yourself and see if you can get these right, okay? All right, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and get started and see if you got them correct. All right, so we're going to finish our chart. They asked us to, so we have 1/2, 1, 1, 2, 1.5, 3, and 2, 4. All right, so we have 1/2, 1 is our first point. So we know 1 is there, so 1/2 is going to be halfway in between there. So we have 1/2 there. So 1/2 is our, start the origin, our x coordinate up to 1. So we're going to plot right there. Our next coordinate is 1, 2. So we're going to start at the origin, x, and put our x and y if we want. X coordinate of 1, up the y to 2. Already got us nice and neat. 1.5, 3. So start at the origin. Between 1 and 2 is 1.5 there. Up to 3, the y coordinate. And then we have 2, 4. So start at the origin, over the x coordinate to 2, up to the 4. All right. So now I'm going to work on constructing a line there to see if I can. Try my best. Okay. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to answer these questions. So it says, use a straight edge. We're done with that. Write a rule showing the relationship between the x and the y coordinates. All right. So we have, this one might be a little bit more challenging, guys. I want you to think about it. Maybe look at your whole number ones. Remember, it has to do the same thing all the way down. To get from the x to the y, you have to do the exact same thing. So if it's hard looking at the fraction ones, maybe look at 1 to 2. 2 to 4. So when you see 1 to 2, you might say, oh, add 1, add 1. Well, let's see. Is 2 plus 1 4? No. So addition will not work for this rule. How else do you get from 1 to 2 and 2 to 4? Half to 1, 1 and a half to 3. Yes, it is times 2. That is correct. So half times 2, if you want me to write that over here, I can. 2 equals 1 times 2 over 2, which equals 2 over 2, which equals 1. So 1/2 times 2 does equal 1. And then 1 1/2 times 2, if our rule is times 2, I'm going to show it down here on the bottom just to prove it to you. We have to turn this into an improper fraction, right? So 2/2 plus 1/2, or 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3 over 2. We have 3 times 2 over 2, which equals 6 over 2, which equals whole number 3. So 1 1/2 times 2 is 3. So our rule is times 2. Now, letter C says, name 2 other points on this line. Remember, you can pick any x coordinate that you want right now. All you have to do is multiply that x coordinate by 2 to get your y. So for example, I could write 3 down. What's 3 following the rule times 2? Would be our y coordinate. Yes, 6. So 3 comma 6 would work. You don't even have to use fractions if you don't want to. So I could write down 4, and I have to follow the rule, times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay? I could even write down 10. If my x coordinate was 10, and I had to follow the rule times 2, what would be my y coordinate? What's 10 times 2? 20. Yes. All right? So that wraps up today. If you have any questions, please watch this video again. I know that can be a little bit confusing, but you all have got this. Just remember, if you have to find points that fall on that line, they have to follow the rule to get from the x to the y coordinate. X to the y times 2. X to the y plus 1. Plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. Times 2, times 2. Okay? All right, guys, that wraps up lesson 7. I hope you have a great day. Again, if you have any questions, watch this again. And those of you with Google Classroom, you're ready to move on to lesson 7 exit ticket Google form. And those of you at home with the papers, you're ready to move on to lesson 7 exit ticket on the paper. All right, see you later, guys. Have a great day.